Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Let's Practice Cursive. So today I'm just going to go ahead and start off with some journaling, and we need to mute that. Hold on a second. Perfect. So we're going to go ahead and just start with the journaling, and from there we'll get into a few things and have some ideas. So I want to run them by people. And yeah, talk as we go or chat as we go, and I'm just gonna go ahead and get started here today. Oh yeah, and I wanted to jump into the journaling to kind of redeem myself here. I'm not so detached from what's going on that I don't even know what day of the week or what month of the year it is. Go ahead and drop the exposure on that. That's a little better. So today is January 11th. Yeah. And it is 2019. Nailed it. Okay. See if we can get it to focus on that. All right. The only thing that I dislike about writing on this handmade paper is that it's very hairy, and so on the fountain pen it tends to pick up hairs. So interesting how with my left hand, my thumb tends to like do this really sharp buckle up here, and I can't seem to keep it flat. Can you guys see how the thumb is becoming sharper? How the bend there just continues to creep up. I'm not sure why that is. Let's see, beautiful. When you write this way, do you always have to have a desk? What I mean is, I use a clipboard, and I would love to still be able to write like this, but I am finding it difficult. No worries. Okay. So with the left hand, because I'm writing with the left hand right now, typically to get this quality of writing out of the left hand, I do need a table. With the right hand, however, I feel pretty comfortable writing like this sitting. If you're using a clipboard, I'm assuming that you're probably standing. Usually what I do, if I'm sitting down and I have no table and I need to write something, is I kind of brace my elbow against my hip bone. And that's kind of like my point of leverage, similar to where on the table I'm resting the meaty part of my forearm. So I brace my elbow on my hip bone, and in that way I can actually maintain some of that arm movement while I'm writing. And this only really works if I'm sitting down. I've never really tried it standing, but I would imagine doing something similar might work. You can kind of brace your elbow against the side of your rib cage, and in that way you can have some support for the whole arm movement. So it might be worth a try. But with anything, there's going to be some disadvantages to not having a table, right? And then also it's a little bit of a different movement, so there's a learning curve to that as well. This is a beautiful morning. In this live stream, thank you for that beautiful explanation. I will have to try and let you know my results. Excellent. I hope it works out for you. Let me reread. Use a clipboard. Yeah. I mean, give it a try and see if it works for you. Let me know. I'd be curious to know. I have some exciting news, by the way. Maybe it's not that exciting, but I think it's kind of exciting. I'm going to leave you all in suspense now. Sorry, we're not in frame. Are you mirror writing? Your date looks fine, but the entry looks backwards. The suspense, no. Yes, so I am. Every morning I mirror write with the left hand, and I'm actually going to talk about why I do that and why I mirror write with the left hand a little bit today. So it's part of my tactic for practicing cursive, and at first I started doing it because it was an exercise, but I'll get into more details. And I ran out of space on the page. That's fine. Okay. So I wanted to invite everyone here this morning and anyone who sees the playback of this within the next 24 hours to a Discord server that I have started. So I don't know how well this is going to work out, but I thought it'd be an interesting way for people who are interested in handwriting to get together and maybe share samples of their handwriting, offer critique to one another, and really just have a general discussion around different types of handwriting. So I'm going to go ahead and toss the invite link for a Discord server in the chat right now. Hold on. Okay, so that's the link that will grant you access to the Discord server. And so if you guys are familiar with Discord, it's basically just like a chat channel where you can get together and have discussions about handwriting, give critiques to one another, share your handwriting, share advice with one another, and continue the discussion around handwriting after this is over. So, and I will be in there periodically, so if you guys ever wanted to talk to me or ask me questions, I will be in there. So that is another resource. Let's see, Shazan. Hello, Shazan. Hi. Are you using a stub nib pen? No. This Lamy 2000 is just a fine point. Yeah. I don't actually have any stub nib pens. I used to, but I don't right now. So this pen is not a stub nib. Right now we're going to do a little bit of practice. I had liked first again. Awesome. I'm going to do a little bit of practice today, and I'm going to show you guys how I practice using the both hands and why I do the mirror image writing. So we'll jump right into that. We're going to start off with a pencil today. focus. Switch to manual. That way it does not go out of focus. Okay. So we're just going to start off with really simple compact ovals. We'll go the other way around. Okay, so now we're going to switch hands, and we're going to do this same thing left-handed in mirror image. And we're going to move a lot more slowly, because in comparison to my right hand, who's been writing for, at this point, 22 years or something, my left hand only has the experience of about 7 years. So that's a pretty huge difference. Okay. We have questions. How will you white in the size of taking notes in school? Oh, okay. We'll get into that in a second. I'm just going to go through this last drill right here. It's my little warm up. Okay, so for the purpose of writing, taking notes in school, I usually use a combination movement. I don't use solely arm movement, so I will use a little bit of finger movement and a little bit of wrist movement. I haven't been to school in several years now, but when I was going to school, you had those little side tables in the auditorium, and you only had limited space for your paper and arm to rest. But it was more than enough, really, because of the way the table is shaped around your side. So you basically just leave your arm sitting on the table in that space. And then because I had a notebook, it was a little thicker, so I couldn't lift the wrist off the table as I normally would. I would have it resting down on the table. And in doing that, I kind of used the majority of the motion with the arm and then little things with the fingers. So it's just a combination movement. So So the arm kind of pushes everything across the page, and it also does a majority of the movement upwards on the page, and then the fingers will take care of some of the finer movements, such as the loops around and the tight circles that we see in some of the letters. And that's essentially how I would take notes in class. And then the next part of that, kind of related back to the ambidexterity that we're talking about today, is when I was studying, what I would do is I'd go back, reread my notes, and I would rewrite my notes with my left hand backwards. And that was a really good way of studying. So if you're somebody who wants to do well in school, this helped me get straight A's. Another thing too, writing in cursive on its own made a huge difference taking notes in class. For whatever reason, I was able to remember information much easier when I was writing in cursive compared to when I was printing. So that's something that I think is quite interesting, but I think worth noting. So yeah, let's continue here with some right-left hand switching. Is that pencil hard to see? Wonder if we can do anything about that. You let me know if the pencil is hard to see. Let's work on the letter U, because that's the one we've been working on. Let's do these little loops here. Backwards. My left hand tends to have a very light touch on the pencil. Yes, the pencil is hard to see. I don't know if that helps at all. Trying to drop the exposure. And I'm even having a hard time seeing my own pencil writing here. Maybe I will use a different pen. Let's go with felt. I don't know how this is going to change anything. Friction is very different. Okay, let's do one more line of that. Okay. I like this one. This loop could have been smaller here. Something more like that, maybe. So this is too low. There's no loop at all there, no loop at all. But I really like this out. And here you can see I'm trying too hard. Let's give it another shot left-handed. Unfortunately, it's making it a little difficult. There we go. Shorter paper won't bump into stuff. Oh, how ugly. Okay. Too fat. Look how fat that is. Way too fat. It's better. Too sharp. Still too fat. It's a bit better there. So the idea behind the mirror image writing is that it gives you another opportunity to study the movement and really observe how it's executed in this new way. And I think neurologically there's something taking place as well. And I've written about it in my most recent article on my website, but you know, they've found this phenomenon. They've known about it since the 1940s, that when you train both hands, the dominant hand benefits from the left hand's training. In the 1940s, this student, I believe it was in the Netherlands, did a study on throwing with both hands, and she worked with kids, and she taught one group of kids over the course of a year how to throw a ball with their dominant hand, right? And the other group of kids, they were 8-year-olds. The other group of kids learned how to throw a ball with both hands. And the group of kids that learned to throw the baseball with both hands improved by 800% in the distance that they could throw. And then they also improved, I think it was not 800% in the distance. It was about 300% in the distance that they could throw, but 800% in the accuracy. So as a collective, that group improved much more significantly than the group that was only training with one hand. So they've called this phenomena intermanual transfer of skill learning. So it's as if there's some neurological communication taking place between the two hemispheres when you're learning to write with both hands, or learning to do anything with both hands. And especially, I think this is true when you do things in a mirror image fashion. Especially in something like throwing, you're going to mirror your form when you want to throw with the opposite hand. You know, what is your assistant hand doing? You know, for example, when you throw a baseball, your left hand is usually pointing in the direction you want to throw and creating a lot of momentum. So with writing, there's a lot of collaboration that takes place between the two hands that's quite interesting. So my right hand will hold the paper for me, it slides it across, and this collaboration between hands is one of the things that's most often overlooked, because the right hand is so used to being in the lead all the time that when we try to do anything with the left hand, the right hand refuses to participate. And you really have to force that collaboration. It's, I think it's quite comical when you think about it. And if you really personify the two hands, the right hand becomes this lazy, stingy, bossy-like figure, and the left hand's like, I just want to play the game, but I need your help, kind of thing. So that's just the ramblings that go on in my head. Shazan said something. Thank you for explaining that. I will definitely apply that into my writing and let you know. Thanks once again. I really appreciate that. Yeah, and don't expect results overnight, but you can expect to see things within 30 days. It can be quite interesting. But yeah, the other thing too is that your left hand is going to start off horribly, as everyone's does. And with time, it will slowly begin to improve. So don't get too frustrated with that portion of it. You're going to start initiating that process of the transfer of skill learning. But it will be quite a significant time before you see improvements on the non-dominant hand. That's a nice U. I don't know if you guys can tell how nice of a U it is, but it's quite nice. Let's see. It's nice. I wish I could show you through the paper, because if I had a mirror on hand, you would see how nice that was. I did a good job on that one. And that was left-handed. Yep, focus and stay. Okay, I'm going to switch over to the right hand again. It's not bad. This curve here, though, coming out could have been nicer. But I'm liking the width here. My height is good. This could have been a little tighter. Maybe something more like this. actually touch the paper. Where's the other half of this paper? There we go. One of the most difficult things for me is actually connecting capitals. I tend to much prefer the non-connecting, but I'd like to improve connecting capitals. Not great, not horrible. Okay, let's pull out the dip pen a little bit. Okay. Really? My overturn ovals tend to be a lot more slanted. Not quite sure why that is. Maybe I'm holding my paper at a different angle. You can see here compared to these. Quite like this one over here. Slant is nice. You know, the angle on this is intended to be a little bit off of what's going on here. And, you know, I feel like this one might even be better actually with kind of this angle. Because here we're coming over from the overturn oval. And here we're coming with the underturn. I like this one too. I don't know if I like it better when they're parallel or if I like the widening. I feel like the widening has a little bit more character than the one where the space is pretty even. L's right now are my worst. Can anyone think of any U words? Ah, unusual. And with that, we could do usual as well. Unique, nice. Unity. Keep them coming. Ah, united. Look at that. Ubiquitous. That's a good word. That is a good word. That's the other thing that's great about cursive is that your spelling is really called into question when writing words like ubiquitous. Like, can you get all the letters right in one go? There's such great coordination there between the hands and the mind, and there's really no other exercise like it, where there has to be such coordinated efforts by both ends of the mental and physical spectrum. Utility. Yes, there's a lot of utility to cursive handwriting, that's for sure. That's why, when people say that, well, it just really baffles me how there's no clinical evidence yet as to why cursive handwriting might be superior to printing as far as the benefits that can come mentally. I mean, there's just so much more coordination and effort involved in cursive handwriting, and in any other spectrum, it would make sense that there's greater gains to be had through greater difficulty, right? Oh, ukulele, nice one. I have a ukulele. And I'm missing an LE, right? Oh, yeah, ukulele. Lay-lee. That's a tough word there. Another piece of paper down. Okay, ukulele. Let's get it right this time. We can do it better. We can still do it better. That's not bad. L is such a hard stroke. But yeah, in any other arena, you know, more difficulty would result in, you know, greater gains. If, you know, you go walking versus you go running, you're going to gain more from the running. But in handwriting, they say that there's no benefit to be had from the greater difficulty of cursive. At least that's what the scientists say. There's nothing conclusive. I think they're looking in the wrong areas. Sometimes it's just fun to do ovals. Ultimate. Nice. Ultra. I used to play this game with my brain coach, and we would see who could offer the other a 5-syllable word the longest. So, for example, I would go first and say abbreviation and umpire. Oh, that's a good one. I've never written that one. I would start off with a word, and then he would throw one back at me, say additionally or something, and then I would say acceleration, and we would go back and forth. He always won because he did this with all his students, but it's kind of a fun game. If anybody can think of any 5-syllable U words, props to you. I like the umpire one. Out of ink. Ululation? Ululation? How do you pronounce that? I'm going to have to ask Google right now. Ululation. I've never heard of that word before. Do you know what it means, Elf? Not bad. Aside from the sharp hump on the M, that one came out quite nice. I'm happy with that. Add a room. To utter a sound, usually protracted, high-pitched, rhythmical sound. Utter, that's another one. How interesting. Is it a music term? Sounds like it might be related to music. Music and theater, movies and dance too. Did you know that word already, or did you look it up in a dictionary? Are you a theater musician? Something of the like, performing arts? Think belly dancing. Oh, very cool. Do you sing? Act? I think I need to spend some time on my lowercase letters. I've never really devoted a ton of time to lowercase letters. Both. Awesome. It's a great hobby. I've not been involved in either of those things. I'm a horrible singer, I've been told. Like, I'm already looking for spaces to fill on my paper. If you guys were here a couple of days ago, or was it yesterday? I was talking about it. But I have this horrible thing with paper where I just like to cover everything. I feel as if I don't cover every inch of the paper, I wasted it. Okay. I'm going to use up the rest of this ink here. And for those who might be curious, this is just regular printer paper. You can kind of tell with the feathering. It's very light feathering. Oh, unhappy. Maybe we'll hit one more. And this is Diamine Marine Ink. And that ink tends to be a little bit more absorbent than some other inks that I prefer, such as the Waterman inks. And you can kind of tell, like, when I dot. Switch over to autofocus. When I dot my eyes, you can see that there's some bleeding involved. But, you know, it works out just fine for the purpose of practicing. See, I think we might have enough ink here for unhappy. We're coming to the end of it. Okay. That's the end of my ink. So once again, you guys are invited to the Discord server. I've already tossed the link in the chat. I'll do that one more time. So if you guys want to join in there, we can potentially continue conversations on post-stream in there. Today, I have to get going because I do have some things that I need to get done today. But thank you for joining me. I appreciate your guys' time. And I most likely will not be streaming over this weekend. We'll see. I might change my mind about that. But I'm thinking the schedule is going to be Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to approximately 8 a.m. Pacific Coast time. So hopefully that works out with most of you. It's what's best for me right now. But we may do some bonus streams along the way. I'm also thinking about a Patreon structure, so if we ever do hit that monetization mark, we might be able to just keep this channel ad-free, because I don't know about you guys, I hate watching ads on YouTube. So if you guys are interested, let me know in the comment section, let me know in the chat, and we can start thinking a little bit more about some Patreon structure tiers that would be something you're interested in. I don't know, some monthly handwritten letters sent out to you guys or something like that. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and toss the link for the Discord in the chat one more time. And that link is good for 24 hours. So if anybody's watching this in the playback, I'll go ahead and, well, actually, I'll just leave it because I think you can see the chat in the playback. So the link is there in the chat. So make sure to check that out. And if you're into Discord and you like that platform, I'll be there. And, you know, you guys can leave messages. I'll respond to them. And potentially we can catch each other for a chat on the voice, because you can do that too in Discord. You can actually talk. So, all right. Yes, thank you, Elf. Have a good day as well. I hope everyone else has a good day. And take care. Sayonara.